I'm Angel, 13. I live in Sturgis, South Dakota, and I've been living there for about 8 years. We moved there from Denver because we wanted to avoid the gangs and all of the rough stuff that was going on down there. So we came up here, and still gangs, still weird people, but it's a lot more calm and cool. And it is a big change from the big city. Well, as I spoke in the arbor, I was thinking a lot, and I mentioned how the children need to be taught in a spiritual way. We all do. They teach us in school, 4 plus 4 is 8, but to me that only is 4 power plants plus 4 nuclear power plants equals 8 big messes. And we are being taught that way, but we do need to be taught a bit more spiritually and, not mentally, but not exactly physically either. Just on that level where everything is possible. We all need that in our lives, and a lot of kids aren't getting it. So as I went and I sat down and I started thinking, and it dawned on me, well, if I'm at a gathering of the Eagles and all adults are here, a gathering of the children for younger kids with visions for the future too, that would be even better maybe, because we will inherit the earth someday. And I once had a teacher tell me that when she was a scared little old lady, she would be fearful because our generation was taking over and in charge. That only made all the kids in our class a little bit more determined to prove her wrong, and I think that was what she was trying to do. What I see is, an arbor, a sacred fire too, but young people gathered around and the older people in the background forced to listen, not really speaking their mind for some time, letting us tell our side of the story. And possibly, singing and dancing and, just kids of all ages, all religions, cultures, backgrounds, ethnic groups, genders, just all of us there together in unity. The 50s brought about a huge population. The 60s kind of went into the drug era. The 70s was free love, and now why everyone has to be so careful. 80s, headbangers and rock and roll people who kind of didn't really recycle. And the 90s were getting a little better, but that's only because I was from the 90s, so. I just see a lot of stuff that has really gone wrong and has been abusing the Mother Earth. And it's something that probably could be fixed, but it'll take a long time to do that, and some of the damages will be scars for all time. A lot of things that have gone on, like the attacks, are things that can never really heal, but with time and effort we can overcome it, and it'll make us stronger in the end. Not just America, but the whole world can learn from mistakes of the past and use them to improve our future. I felt that 9/11 was really a wake-up call, and a woman in the arbor today said that a woman she knows very well came to her because a co-worker was involved with the planning of it, and she had to help him get out. She said that, there weren't supposed to be 3 or 4 planes, there were supposed to be around 40, and that was a very scary thought, whoever really did this was out for destruction. And it took me a while, but a week or so after the attacks, I was still very angry, but when they came out and said it was Osama bin Laden, I forgave him. They say that forgiveness is one of the things you really need to do to accept a person. And when I told a friend of mine that, she's like, well, you forgave him for killing all those people? I'm like, yeah, he has a reason. He did it for spiritual reasons. If he thought that, doesn't really matter to us. We're still safe, and the people who died are probably in a better place anyway. And she's like, so if he came in and killed your parents, in the middle of the night, you'd forgive him? I'm like, well, I'd be angry, but yeah, I'd forgive him. and she had a hard time taking that concept and believing that I could forgive him for killing all those people. But I really didn't find it all that hard. And current world affairs, like prejudice, racism, and all that stuff is, fairly close to home because I'm half German and half Aztec and Mayan. And a lot of times I'm, shunned by the people who are dark-skinned like me because I'm not full like them. I'm not full blood, I'm half. And the white people certainly are mean to me because I'm not like them at all. It's very hard for me to fit in, and that's something that hits so close to home. But things going on like world pollution and like famines and stuff like that, there are ways to fix it. There are definite ways to fix it, like poverty. There are certain things we could do that are a lot smarter than what we are doing. I had a meteorologist, Mike Modrick, tell me once that he does believe that global warming is happening, and we just don't have the tools to predict when. We don't have the tools to predict, like how bad it's going to be. But he says that it is coming, and it comes from like driving a car, just to the store or something that is really making it worse. And I've seen it happen a lot, like my friends we've all begun a recycling program with all the papers we have from the school, all this wasted paper. We save up all of our school papers through the year, don't throw them away, and take them to a recycling place instead of just throwing them out so that more trees can be killed. We've all become really active in this, and we're all trying to, get it better, but there's not enough of us trying. There's a lot of them making it worse for us. And partially I blame the upbringing, and partially I blame the environment of like the violence that goes on, like you see games advertised on television like where, have fun chopping someone's head off and trying to find a magician or something just so that you can fight him too. A lot of that is, just stuff that I really can't stand. The violence is way too much for me, and at one point I was actually on strike. My friends would say, hey, why don't we go play this? And I'd be like, well, does it have guns or fighting or killing in it? And they're like, well, like there's this one part where we might. And I'm just like, I better go home. I have something else to do. And that kind of left me alone for quite some time. But after they got the idea that I wasn't for violence, they started to realize it, and they themselves began to, do that as well. A lot of people, they tell us, oh, go do this for me, or will you go get this? But when we want to talk, like we'll say, can I talk to you for a while? And if we even start to explain the problem, I've run into adults who suddenly take over and start telling stories of their youth and saying, oh, it's going to be okay, but not really listening to you. Just saying, it's all going to be good, when it really might not be. When we don't really know what's going to happen. And that's been really scary as a child to go through all of that. And almost all of the kids I know feel this way. Which is why they set up peer counseling at a lot of schools where they recruit young people, like I'm one of them, and we are trained a day in like the psychological workings of the mind, and they tell us, all about this stuff, and in the end we're, set free into the school, and anyone who has a problem like teen pregnancy, drugs, problems at home, or even if they just need someone to cry on, they call us and we talk to them in private, and it's a lot better to have someone listening. Someone being empathetic or sympathetic instead of someone just, oh yeah, I know how that feels, let me tell you about this, and telling us what we should do, but not really helping. Oh, if I could have everything like I wanted it to be, like people would live like not in houses that are like take a bunch of trees and stuff to cut down, but like earth houses, I've seen a lot of them around, and the ones you build out of tires, recycled materials, that would kind of reduce all the waste and stuff, and all of the poverty that's taking place could easily be solved. And people have ideas for growing hemp and industrializing it here in America. It makes oil and clothing, and if you bale it up, it'll make houses, and it would be a lot more productive than what we're using now. Straw doesn't hold as much. Our cloth, cotton is getting a little overused, and there's a lot of it around. And it's all that stuff is we're depending on foreign oil, which is why gas has gone up so much. But, machines use oil, and you can make oil out of hemp oil. It's really not that hard. I've heard a lot about it. And that would make things a lot better. Growing them on the reservations or something could bring us out of poverty almost instantly, because it is such a moneymaker. And, people just being nice to people. The commercials they have where, the man, you see him carrying all those big heavy boxes, and a little old woman with a couple grocery bags in her hands full trying to open a door. And so he goes up and opens it with his foot, helps her in. If people were more like that, things would be a lot better, instead of people bumping into each other on the street and cursing at each other, rude drivers that kind of cause a lot of accidents. If some of that were just, people would realize what they're doing and take a minute there to just, see if they can help, try to do things a little bit better than they are. Just make one effort and things would be a lot better. If every person, tried to do that. Not just because of, an attack happens and so suddenly we're all aware of it. If we were aware of it all the time, things would be a lot better than they are. And I've always felt that way. It's just, it took me a long time to really accept it myself and try to practice it. Practice what you preach. It took a while to do that. It took a while to learn that and accept that too. So, yeah, racism, prejudice, even sexism, they can all be solved just with a little acceptance and realizing that inside we are all red. We all bleed the same. And, we just all look different, because otherwise it would be fairly boring without that. So, there are a lot of ways that a perfect world could become, and we wouldn't even have to have world peace. Just, wars and stuff could be less, and why can't the politicians duke it out themselves instead of sending innocent people to fight for them? They don't really have any place in it other than their country. So, there are a lot of things that could be done, that should be done, and I would like to get that message out. From here on out, I'm really going to try to get a gathering of children, getting us all together and united as one, all of the, different religions, all of the different churches in my town, all the kids come together, naturally. But when it comes to religion, fighting, and when it comes to politics, we all disagree. But if we could come to unite somewhere, just anywhere. I've seen people do it in the middle of the street before. I would like to see that happen. And I'm going to really focus on that, and I'm going to focus on getting more people involved with it. I've been trying to get recycling set up at school, because a lot of kids drink pop at school and they just throw the cans away, or they throw the bottles away, and all the paper that is wasted could easily be reused and saving a forest. That would be really easy. So I'm focusing on, just doing anything I can. If there's someone who needs my help, I really do try to do what I can. Even if I don't know what I'm doing, I try anyway. And that's what I want to focus on for the next couple years. If it's a donation, if it's informing children, if all you can do is pray about it, every little bit counts. 2 pennies worth is all that I really need. For everyone to pitch in and help just a bit, praying, spreading the word. It will take funding to get it off the ground, but that's a given. And the world does revolve around money, so That's like not my favorite part. But anything, just praying, informing people, just it all helps. It all really does help in the end. Even just comforting words, even work. Just anything you can do. Kind of like Martin Luther King Jr. I have a dream too. Maybe it won't take as much, like fighting and stuff, but it will take time and effort, and that's all I have. Time.